Welcome to the podcast where we take a deep dive into the stories behind construction business leaders. We will share how they got started, how they found success, and the lessons learned along the way. I'm your host, Eric Fortenberry. Welcome to Builder Stories. Welcome back, everybody. Today, I'm very excited to have Raquel and Diego Rodriguez. They are the owners of D&R Custom Remodeling located in Austin, Texas. Always love seeing Texas represented here. I actually spent a lot of time in Austin. I did my undergrad at UT Austin, University of Texas. I guess I need to clarify for any of the other Tennessee people out there. But, look, we're really excited to have you all on Builder Stories today to share your stories. So why don't I kind of let you, Raquel or Diego, whoever wants to kind of give the background. How did you guys, get into construction? How did you decide to start your company? Tell us what you guys do, what you focus on.
Okay, well, first, thank you very much, Eric, and the JobTread team. We love you guys. We've really enjoyed working in the software and just improving our business. So thank you for that and this opportunity to talk to everyone, and if we could share our story.
Yeah.
Sounds good to us.
Yep.
So we're a husband and wife team, which I think we decided to start this business when we came to Austin 4 years ago. Diego's always been in the industry working on decorative glass, family business, 30 years.
30 plus years.
Yeah, and a family business.
Back in New York. And come back with a background of dealing with interior designers and architects, coming up with unique products for the high-end retail and commercial sectors, using carved glass and sandblasted glass, and then transitioning here to Austin, we decided, well, that's probably not the best fit to continue that business here. So we, with background in construction, we decided that's the next best thing is to start our remodeling company.
I have a background in business development in corporate for many years. So when we came here and decided how can we join forces and support each other, I was doing project management like on a consulting basis for some clients in New York. So how can I do the same thing that I do for them for our business? And it just made a lot of sense for us to partner together. And we're a pretty good team. Our brains work very differently and they complement each other. I think we are pretty genuine and creative, and our clients respond well to that. And we bring in some design elements. When it's pretty simple, if we need to bring in a designer, we'll bring in a designer.
Sure.
But for the most part, we can add to that. And from a design element, Diego's very creative and artistic, being in the decorative glass world for so long. And then, so I think there was a big learning curve when we started, because I don't have a construction background. And Diego learned to do kitchens and bathrooms just from our own home, our friends' homes, families' homes. And so it made sense from like a knowledge standpoint, but we didn't know how to run a business doing it. Sure. So there was, it was a big learning curve, learning how to estimate and just even learning how to speak this language. And
a lot of pains to go.
Yeah, so we could really, really relate to a lot of contractors. I don't know how contractors do it when they don't have like a partner. Yeah. I just remember how many nights we would be up and figuring things out and trying to put estimates together and marketing, all of it. It's just like I really give it to those who embark on this alone. Yeah. Because we wear so many hats, and I couldn't do this without Diego. And I mean,
vice versa.
I don't know. You probably figure it out, but so yeah, and we're still learning. I did everything in Excel, and then I was like, oh, there's software that can like really simplify all this. Let's do that. And then some of them were too complex. And I think JobTread just hits it on the nail.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
that's a little bit of background.
I totally agree with you though. Like it is so helpful to have business partners and people who you can embark on this journey together. And typically I see, and I recommend, I mean, you need to make sure who's going to focus on the business side, and then who's going to focus on the construction, operations, execution, kind of making sure you're delivering. So it sounds like you guys have sort of worked out. I assume, Raquel, you're the business, sales, maybe back office.
Yes.
Diego, you've got the construction unlock. That's awesome that you've been able to have that partnership together. To do this. I mean, now I am curious, like since this is a very unique opportunity to have the husband and wife. There's always like, well, what's it like working with your spouse? Like, I get asked all the time because my dad is our CFO, and they're like, well, what's it like working with your dad? I'm like, well, early on it's kind of like 80-20 rule. Like 80% of the time we're loving each other, 20% of the time we're going at each other's throats. But now it's realistically more like maybe 95-5. But we get to go home to separate houses every day. You guys are going home to the same house. So how has the work-life balance been managed, and kind of what do you I'm curious, what do you guys disagree on, and how do you settle those?
Yeah, it definitely has its challenges, and it's about understanding. I've worked in the family business with my parents for over 25 years, and so that was tough because I'd work and still go home with them. So it was over the years you learn to bite your tongue on certain things, right?
Pick your battles.
With a spouse, it's a little different because you got to sleep in the same bed. So
yep.
It comes with pros and cons. But what's good about it is that you work through it and you see each other's strengths, and you tend to let go of what those areas are that you can have somebody else do, right? So, for instance, Raquel is great with the numbers and putting together the estimates and figuring out our profits and loss, and I'm better at getting the task at hand taken care of and as efficient as possible. So with that kind of balance, it works out.
Yeah, and I think we both don't take things too personally.
Yeah.
So there's times where something gets the best of you. You might react. We don't curse at each other. I think we just try to be really like, because we're rough around the edges. I think if you're in this business, you're a little rough around the edges.
Sure.
You're not as stuffy and corporate, and so sometimes you say things that maybe you shouldn't have, and we just don't take it personal, and we let it go, and we don't stay mad at each other. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
We just we'll like get mad and let it go and release, and then we just like, well, let's just keep going. And yeah, communication's really big.
Yeah.
Really big. Like we touch base every day, and we both like business. I think that's really important. Like if we go out to dinner, we're talking business, and it's not like, oh, why are you talking about business? We actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
We like talking about business. It's either talking about the kids or talking about business. And some people are like, shouldn't we like be doing other things? And I'm like, but wow, that's what we like.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. That's it certainly makes it easy when both of you are down to talk about business versus, sometimes people bring home, I know I have a tendency to bring home work to the kitchen table, to the bedroom. Like my wife's like, all right, do you have anything else to say? I'm like, well, I hold on, let me think.
Yeah. But there are times where it's just like, oh my gosh, I just can't think right now. Like in the morning, it was like, don't start rattling things off to me yet. Like I have to wake up, and I'll just be like, oh, not now.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
So is there any like kind of what's the rest of your team look like? I mean, are there any other employees? How are you getting the work done? Is it, do you have trade partners, subcontractors?
We have a little bit of like a hybrid model.
Okay.
We first started, it was just the two of us. So Diego was hardcore on the tools, and I was doing all of the business side. And, we're getting older, so we have to constantly be thinking like, well, what is, year 3 going to look like? What's year 5 going to look like? And what do we want it to look like? From not only from a business side, but from the operation side. And so we kind of set out every year with a plan to move in that direction. And so year 3, we hired an assistant project manager. And we say assistant because we wanted to mold him and train him to be like Diego. Our core values for this business is quality and excellent customer service and communications. So anyone who we bring onto our team has to reflect that when we're not there.
Yep.
So Tatum is that for us. And so we're training him to be kind of like Diego. As Diego gets off of the tools, I mean, he's still very much in it because we like quality control. But in the beginning, it was just us taking one project at a time because we would make sure from beginning to end we were 100% giving attention. And while that's good when you're building a brand and you're building a company and you want to just make sure that everything goes the way that you need it to go, I think that was a good move on our part. But when it comes to growing the business, it's limiting, right? Because there's only one of us. So that's why we decided, okay, we're going to take Tatum on. And during that time as well, we started finding trade partners who we could trust. Here in Texas is a little different than like where we come from. We are originally from New York. And I think it's a little bit of the Wild West here when it comes to labor and quality and all of that. And so we weren't willing to let go of any of that. So we did it very cautiously because we were also new to the area. So we didn't have contacts and resources. We didn't have any of that. And so not only were we new to the business, we were new to the area. We came here sight unseen. We didn't know anybody or anything. So it was just a very strategic and cautious. It was like just baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. And I think we're still there. We're still kind of very cautious.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's your reputation, and you're putting that in somebody else's hands. So, vetting out subs is tedious because it's not like you can just let them go on a project and then walk back and see what they've done.
And you can't micromanage them either because that's their business and that's what they do. But there's been many times where Diego is teaching them how to do their job. And so we're just like, oh, man, are they teachable? At least. Can we teach from their business too? So, it's been an interesting journey.
How did you initially find, these subs and people to bring in to help you get the work done? I mean, again, not having a network obviously is very challenging.
Correct.
So,
that's a good question because I think the
first one was recommended. First is our plumber.
Hold on. Before that, actually, it was at church. We started going to church when we came here to Texas. I woke up one Sunday and we're like, we're going to church. And it was a smaller community and there was some builders there, just really genuine. And we just went up to one and was like, hey, can we buy you some coffee? And can we just sit and pick your brain? We're thinking of starting a remodeling business because Diego was still actually in New York and I was here with the kids. And we wanted to kind of get an idea. And so we were like, well, they're not really competitors in the area. Maybe they'll talk to us. And so they did. They were amazing. I remember walking away with like 5 pages of notes or like, oh, if you need, windows, go here, go to ProSource or, do this. And, or these glaziers are great for installing glass. And so at least we had a place to start. And they were an awesome team. And I think that really helped us like, okay, we could do this. And then it came through, I think our first one was our plumber who's still with us, who's amazing. And Diego knows how to do plumbing, but it's just like probably not one of his favorite things.
Oh, you just can't do everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, Diego knows how to do all the trades. So that is a huge blessing because when you're bringing in trades and you're watching, like, do they really know what they're doing? Do they?
Yeah, it's definitely a helpful skill to have to gain that knowledge ahead of time. So if you are starting or thinking of starting into construction, get that knowledge because, even for myself, I might not do it all the time, but if I do bring in a sub, I'm able to oversee it and it doesn't look foreign to me, right? I can tell whether it was done right or wrong.
Yeah.
So where tell us about like what was your first customer? How did you get that first customer? What was that first project?
Oh my goodness. So our very first project, so I was like, how do people know we exist, right? Yeah. So that's kind of like where I put on my marketing hat and I'm like, who's talking to our customers? Like who's talking to our future customers? So I said, I'm going to reach out to designers. So that's what I did. I went on to like these local Facebook groups and I would see who was recommending a certain designer. So I reached out to like maybe like 10, 15 designers just via email and said, hey, we're new to the area. And I put together like a website through Wix, just something so I can present, right? And I would say out of those 15, maybe a couple weeks later, one designer reached out to us and was like, hey, the guy who I usually work with is very busy. Let's try a project together. And we were like, sure. It was a whole home remodel. It wasn't just like, oh, here's a little bathroom or here's a kitchen. It was in some of these houses out here in our area, they're beautiful, but they're old. Internally, they're old. And then you open up a wall, the wires are like spaghetti. There's no code followed. And so that project was our first one. That one was like, boom, just thrown at us. I don't even think we made that much money because I wanted to price it right. I didn't know how I was pricing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, can I tell you, they're still our customer to this day. We just finished another project for them 4 years later on an investment property they have. Awesome. So we were grateful for that because it really got us from like a business perspective, like how do we run this, right? We needed to do invoicing, change orders, contracts. That was like our first, like, at night, like we got to figure out how to put this, what language do we want in our contract? We didn't even have a lawyer. So it's like, I needed to figure out how to, put a contract together.
What would you say was like, what was the hardest thing to figure out? Was it, the pricing? Was it the contracts, the actually scheduling, getting the work done, finding the crews? Like what was the hardest thing?
All of it. But I think for me, the numbers were really hard because I didn't know them and I want to know them. And so I would say the one thing that saved us is that my trust and faith in this man right here, in that he is like the most amazing problem solver. He's so solution oriented that I knew that whatever was to happen, that he was going to figure it out and always do right by the client. And then the quality is going to surpass everything that's out here. I just knew that I was not willing to compromise. I wasn't going to work for free. Yeah. I could work for free. I'm sitting behind a computer, but I wasn't letting this man work for free.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was just like, I needed to make sure I was like researching and trying to figure out. And while I wanted to be fair with pricing, I just felt like there's no way that we're working for free. And I think that we've been able to be successful because I think a lot of contractors, when they're beginning, they really don't price themselves well.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes they don't stay in business because it's just like, I work so hard because this is hard work. He comes here exhausted and dirty every day. And I'm just like, there's no way he's doing this and not getting paid for it. So I think that was probably the hardest thing because of the pressure I was putting on myself to get these numbers right. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you at least had sort of a fallback to not let yourself underprice the job. You knew your worth, your value, and you had that hard line early on because, like, again, I see it all the time. People think that they need to win a deal on price, and they just, they sell themselves short. Yeah. And it's really hard to see that because it's like, okay, you just did all this work, but you made no money for it. That is the fastest way to burn yourself out.
Exactly. Absolutely. That's what makes it worth it for us. We're not for everyone. We're not. And if you want
have to find you
if you want good quality work and someone who's going to answer your phone call at all hours of the day and night, that's us.
Yeah.
You're going to get that sort of quality and service. But
how do you, I love it. And it's like, I can feel the energy and the passion. And I love that it's like, look, we are a family, truly a family business here that want to help you. How do you get that brand and how do you get your culture and your core values? Like, how do you make sure that comes out in the sales process? Because obviously, if you can get the customer to understand that and value that, their price is a secondary to, am I choosing the right contractors to come in? Can I trust them around my family? Are they going to do right by me? Like, how do you communicate all that? How do you make sure that gets across?
Well, we definitely make sure that the client is heard, right? If they feel that they're heard and that their pains are being addressed in that initial contact, you make that personable connection with them. And once they feel that way, their guard is down and they sense a trust.
Right. Trust is huge in this business because you're going into someone's home.
And you just don't know until you're in it already. So.
So trust is really big. And I think that, we learn to qualify over the phone. In the beginning, we were like going out to every, anybody who called. And we quickly realized that wasn't a very good strategic way to handle it. So I spend time on the phone qualifying, but whether I know whether they're for us or not and vice versa, but that qualifying does help build rapport and it's just over the phone. They haven't even met us yet. And I think we're helping them right from the very beginning, to think through things, whether they want to hire us or not. So we just always go with the intention that we want to help. And I think that comes out in the way we talk and when we do meet and so on and so forth. So if that is important to them, which if you're going to let someone in your house, I think trust is huge.
So you have an initial, is it phone call? Do you ever use Zoom where you have video involved, or is it always just phone?
No, keep it simple, just over the phone. I don't always have my hair done. So, over the phone. We do have a website form if they want to send us pictures and let us know a little bit about their project so that when we do have that, I call it a discovery call, my questions can be more tailored specifically to their project and just ask better questions like, are you going to, plan on taking that wall down or whatever the thing may be, just to get a little more personal about their particular project. And I do offer suggestions and I handle it like a consultation.
Sure.
So for some people, they really appreciate that.
What are you looking for in terms of trying to really, qualify them or decide that they're maybe not a good fit? And how do you handle that?
Yeah, great question. I think first, location. It's really big out here. And so I'm trying to tailor it to, at least no more than a 45-minute to hour distance, just because it gets hard to manage multiple projects if you're busy driving around all day. So that took a little learning and telling people, sorry, it's out of our service area. So that's probably the first question that I ask. And then after that, is it something that we do? Because there's a lot of things out there to do. And that's another thing that we kind of tried to niche down and say, we can, because we like to say yes. So we can take on a lot, but I don't think we get as excited about projects when it's go and, I don't know, handle somebody's remediation or something. We get excited with creative projects. So it's bathrooms and kitchens and helping someone's vision come to a reality. So that's probably I get a little gist of the scope of the project. And if it's really not in line with what we want to do, we'll just say, it's not in line with, the kind of services that we provide. But our website does help narrow that down. And then after that, I like to gauge if, what their budget is, if they're not realistic with their budget, I do provide them a range of what something like that might cost based on some inspiration pictures and things like that. And so we do all that before we even go out. We want to just say, is this in line with your budget? Because this is what we charge for a bathroom this size for what it is that you're trying to accomplish here. And is that in line with your budget? And if not, we can like call it quits right there. And I haven't moved from my desk.
Yeah.
But it took us a while to get there, Eric, because I had to know my numbers. We had to know how much things cost and our time and all of that. So, yeah, I mean, I still have to go back and sometimes, and I'll say, I'll get back to you. Let me put together a range for you. And then at least, and then if they want us to come out, then we'll come out for the consultation. But they've got a range. They know how much that project is going to cost. Sure. And then that's where we meet and we get the numbers, the measurements and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of like our process.
Are you charging for the consultation or do you go out for free?
Sometimes, yeah. Most of the time we do. I think the scope of the project, if it's going to be like multiple bathrooms and kitchens.
Sure.
And also it allows us to gauge how serious the client is. Yeah. If they're willing to come in from the beginning on a consultation, then they're pretty serious on their project.
Sure.
Yeah.
What kind of, like, what's that fee look like? Is it a scale,
if it's like
or
bathroom? It's like $250. If it's a whole house, we'll do $500.
Okay.
And there's also times like if we're not busy, we'll just do it, and depending on how the rapport was on the phone.
Sure.
So I kind of gauge it. Yeah.
And if they how often are you doing like a full kind of rendering or designs? Does that come into play, or do you?
Yeah, so there's been a couple times where we'll enter a pre-construction agreement when we see that this is very involved in putting the numbers together, that we need to get our subs to come out and give us a price on things. And that's one thing we've always been really, really respectful of our, the subs that we do have. I don't want to bring them out unless I have some sort of agreement.
Yeah.
I think you can waste people's time.
Yeah.
And so we just say, we can give you a range of what this type of project would cost, but let's enter a pre-construction agreement in which we bring in our subs, a designer, if we're going to do kitchens and bathrooms, and they're not sure what they want, and it's beyond our design capabilities.
Sure.
I use Canva and stuff like that, but if we want like a full layout rendering, we'll bring in a designer. And yeah, so that's how we go that route. But again, depends that kind of project. We'd love to get more projects like that.
Sure.
But I think they're further in between.
Yeah.
When it's like a whole home remodel.
So when you're going into a project though, you're having the sub come out and basically give you a bid to do the work so that you know what your cost will be.
Yes, if we do a pre-construction agreement. If it's like a smaller job that we are familiar with kitchens or bathrooms, I know my sub's approximate number, so I'll put that into a bid. And then I can just send out a bid without having to have my contract, like our plumber. I'm not going to have him come every time we have to put an estimate together for a bathroom.
Sure.
Or a kitchen. Like I know his numbers.
Yeah.
It gets tricky when it's like a whole home and
moving plumbing.
Yeah, complicated things. Sometimes homeowners have more complicated ideas of what they want to do.
Yeah. So you keep referring back to knowing your numbers, the importance of knowing your numbers. I mean, like you clearly have a really good handle on that. How did you figure out the importance of that, and what would you advise for people who are earlier on struggling with their numbers, like whether it's their cost, how much to charge, how to do pricing, what profit to put in it? Like, how did you kind of sort of come to this understanding of the importance of understanding the numbers?
Yeah, it is trial and error. Just try to keep track of everything. So I used Excel, and Excel can be very simple, and you can make it very complicated. And I think I overcomplicated things. They didn't need to be so complicated. I didn't need to take a week and a half to put an estimate together. Like I would dream about numbers and things that we had to do. I definitely made it too complicated. I think if anyone who's starting, just keep it simple. Just keep track of, keep everything in one credit card, have all your expenses hit that one credit card. Do your research on the local sites like Lowe's and Home Depot, see what things are costing and keep track of it. And then definitely, mark it up because you're going to forget things. I mean, to this day, we still will, I'm like, you didn't tell me I needed that, but I did cushion my number to account for those kinds of things. So definitely cushion your numbers when you're
And also
starting.
pay attention to how long the job takes. Because you might put an X amount for, let's say, a bathroom, but if it takes you 3 weeks or more, you have to understand that a lot of that has been absorbed into labor.
Yeah.
So gauge how long things take and try to become more efficient to be able to tighten up your numbers.
Yeah, that's the kind of advice I would tell him. He when we would discuss like how can we do better, and we'd always like, oh, well, where can we cut costs? And I'm like, well, costs are your expenses are your expenses. Like that's what you needed for that job. I don't know how else you can cut that, but what we can cut is, the amount of time we take to do something. And then again, that was like one of our learning curves. Right? In the past, if he would do a project, he wasn't on a time constraint because it was for family and friends. They weren't going to say, like, I need that bathroom tomorrow. But now when you're running a business, the client needs their bathroom or their kitchen. You can't take months to do a kitchen. So, yeah. So I think those are two really good things.
Sounds like then you're also doing the job costing. You're tracking what expenses went to what job. Do you have like some sort of kind of performance review after each job where you look back on and like, is there a closeout process where, hey, I thought it was going to take, this long and it took, twice as long, or we thought the material was going to cost this, like kind of what is that sort of that closeout process or that review, look like for you?
Well, with job tread, that's where we're trying to move to do more of that job costing. That's going to be really important. And I like to do it at least by, cost code or cost type. So like all the plumbing numbers, electrical, painting. But when we first started, and pretty much up to now, I am looking at it from a project basis. Because there's so many details and you've moved on. That's what's hard is by the time, you've already sold your next job and you moved on and you're like, well, Diego will ask me, so like, how did we do? And I'm like, well, I could tell you top line that, we made X percent and we did good. Right. But I think that from a business standpoint,
granular numbers, just to see how you're pricing, how your profits coming along.
Yeah, there's so many moving parts in this business. And I think all contractors, at some point you have to do the work so that you can get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm comfortable knowing it. And then, either have somebody else do it for you if you don't want to do it anymore, because it is very granular.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still do a lot of things offline as I'm still learning more and more about job trend.
Sure. And are you selling these at a fixed price?
Yes.
So I guess, how are you handling changes? Are you doing change orders? Is that, discussed up front? They understand that, hey, here's the scope of work. Anything out of that, we're happy to do, but we have to, it's going to have to be a change order.
Yeah, we always let clients know that remodeling is a unknown, because once you open up the walls, you can find mold, you can find bad plumbing. It's really an unknown. So the client goes into the project knowing that, okay, there might be an issue down that we'll have to deal with. That's why Raquel tends to put an allowance in there. So that way, if those issues arise, it can be taken care of within the budget.
Yeah, we don't like coming back for like little things. So I do have like I pad some of my numbers so that it'll account for like, if they chose a more expensive tile, I'm not going to go back and penny pinch. I don't like when people do that to me. So we don't like to do that to our clients. But if it's something major, then definitely we'll have a conversation. And if it's for a large home remodel, I do tell our clients either you can give us a contingency. I do like around 3 to 5%, or I would recommend that you put aside around a 3 to 5% contingency should anything major come up.
Sure.
You have it to account for it.
So how are you deciding, like, what profit are you trying to make from each job? Like, is it, flat, 50% across the board type deal, or is it based on the size and the scope of the project? Because again, I see a lot of people really struggle to know what should we be trying to make.
Yeah, I think that's a good question, and I think definitely for labor. I mean, for some things, we noticed that it didn't feel right to us to like mark up, for example, cabinets when, especially if we weren't putting them together. If we were just installing, I would put an install labor number, and then I would not mark up the cabinets themselves like I would other materials. So I just felt it wasn't fair. And also, I know some people that do that, and I think they maybe have a higher clientele, and that's what they charge. And I think that's totally fair from a business standpoint. That's not our clientele right now. So we have to be a little more cautious.
Yeah, but at the same time is that you have such an expensive product that you're installing that you're responsible for.
Yeah.
So you can't put 100% markup on it, but you have to put some, because for instance, cabinets, not all the cabinets are going to be damaged, if you have to cover something, right? Partial. So that's why some of that markup is there to cover those instances.
Yeah. Yeah, you do need to have some in there, because you're not going to go back for everything. But like if we did custom cabinetry, I'm definitely, and our carpenter's like installing it, he's building it, installing it, and we're not touching it. Yeah. I'm not going to mark it up.
But we like to, we try to shoot for at least a 50% margin there.
Yeah, across it all.
Yeah.
And where are you finding your customers now? Are they referrals? Are you, do you have a website? Are you running ads? Networking?
Yeah, I think we could do better with our marketing. We like referrals, but we're not there yet. Not a consistent flow of referrals to keep the business all that. Even though that's what we like the most. Google local search was really good to us for a while, but you have to stay on top of Google local search, constantly posting reviews and pictures, and you have to be on top of that. And we slacked, and then I think our rating or whatever kind of dropped. So any kind of thing, you have to stay on top. This year we tried some print. I'm not a huge fan of print. That's actually my background. It's just really hard to prove ROI in print. Sure. And it can be costly. So we've tried that. Our website, I moved our original one we did in Wix. It was easy, user-friendly, but for SEO purposes, we heard that, WordPress was better. So we moved it over to WordPress, and now we need to work on SEO. So definitely slacking in that area. What else do we do? Something that's on our goal list for this year is we need to get out more into the community and networking. I could be a little introverted sometimes. I don't seem like it, but large
I would never have guessed.
Yeah. Once you get us started, then it's a little
person to person, I'm okay, but in large groups, I'm just yeah. So, definitely things. I mean, we're constantly trying to learn and grow.
Sure.
Because we're both fully vested in this business. And so you have to get out of your comfort zone sometimes. And that's definitely one of not our comfort zones. So
how many projects are you managing at one time?
1 to 3.
Okay.
1 to 3. If it's pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah. 1 to 3.
And do you think about do you all have the beginning of every year? Do you kind of set budget, a goal? Do you kind of what sort of KPIs are you looking at to know are we on track? Are we behind? Are we ahead?
Yeah, great question. You know what we started doing? Our good friend, who happens to be a business coach, she taught us this maybe a couple years ago, and we do this with our family. Every January, we sit down and we review the past year, to see like, did we hit those goals that we set for, and how can we support each other? So for my daughter, it could be like saving money for her car because she just got her driver's license. For my son, he wants to take a trip. So we help support each other because I know what their goals are. So we do that for the business too.
Yeah.
And we break it up into like pillars. So for the business, we have the marketing side, we have the sales side, we have the operations side, we have training and management side. So what can we do in each one of those pillars to improve for that next year? So we start the year by doing that. After we do the review, then we talk about the coming year. And we've kept those KPIs kind of simple for ourselves right now. So from a sales standpoint, every year we're like, 30%, let's add a 30%. I think this past year we added 50%. Let's see if we could do it. And we keep meeting it. So the kids are like, you guys are rocking it. And we're like, yeah, I don't know how, God, thank you, God. Yeah. That's what we keep saying, because we haven't cracked the marketing nut. Like we haven't say, oh, this is 100% how it works. So I can't pass on too much advice there. It's really been, a lot of God and luck.
Yeah. Well, it's funny how when you set a goal for yourself, it's so much more likely to come true than when you don't, or, whatever that number may be. I think there's always that healthy balance of like it can't be too easy, but it can't be impossible. You got to find that healthy, like, let's stretch ourselves. Let's force us to kind of, we're going to have to do something. We can't just keep doing what we're doing and expect to hit it. But like, what can we invest in? How can we take it to the next level?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And we're for trying new things. We can't try all these new things at one time. There's only one of us or two of us doing it.
If you try one, you're going to be far more ahead than what you didn't try. You didn't try. So have a goal to shoot for.
Yeah. And I think it's good to, in a controlled, if you go change 5 things at once, then it's going to be a lot harder to understand, well, what was the impact on each one of those things versus, okay, maybe this month we're going to focus on SEO and let's put out a new blog post every day or, one a week or whatever it is. And we're going to do so many social posts to, post once a day, for a month. Let's see what happens. Like, and then you can directly sort of, start to track that and understand the impact.
Yeah. There's so many things. Marketing is complicated these days. It wasn't.
Yeah.
I think it always has been. It's always been like a full-time job. And when you wear so many hats, it's hard. And then now you have to add the social media component of posting every day or, Yeah.
I mean, I do see a lot of people who that is a pretty kind of quick one where they can just, let me find a marketing agency, a marketing partner, somebody, because again, like they can take the time to learn your business. Obviously you're involved in the strategy, but there is a lot of the day-to-day blocking and tackling that just, it needs to happen. It doesn't necessarily, there a lot of it's not the secret sauce that, the founders need to do. It can be done by others. And, so we've seen a lot of success kind of partnering with marketing agencies that can sort of take some of that off of your shoulders, but, you get all of the benefit by investing and doing it. And it's likely going to also be cheaper than hiring a full-time person. At some point you may want more control and you're like, all right, it makes sense. And we could actually maybe save money, by bringing in an expert. But I do think it's very important that people invest in marketing because ultimately, like that's the engine that's going to bring the top of the funnel, like the leads, referrals are probably your best customers, but you want to be getting some of that organic, natural, local audience to find you as well.
Yes, I agree. I think it's just that a reputable company these days are going to have a presence, and that was step number 1, right? It was to have that presence. That's why we worked hard on getting like really good reviews. And creating those pages, but we haven't been consistent. And so I think that's where the marketing, like you said, Eric, the marketing agency really helps for that consistency. At
the end of every project, do you try to, kind of capture the full story? I mean, again, just, kind of pull out your phone or, if you've got somebody who could, do the video, you could even, again, probably find a videographer for a day to, hey, have the customer, here is the before, here were the challenges, the pain we had. We went through this process. We found D&R. they came in, they worked with us, they helped us, and here's here's the result of it. We're so excited, blah, blah, blah. Capturing that story, that's the social proof. And then you publish that, and that content, though, like if you go capture one, decent piece of content, video content, you can chop that up into so many different, 1 minute, 60-second reels, and you just kind of, and then put out blog posts and put it on YouTube and like run ads with it. Like capturing just, again, doing that one or two times can give you, a month or two's worth of content that will hopefully, if it finds that next customer for you, then it all paid off.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's something we can improve on. Definitely. We're not storytellers, and I think that is definitely a great skill in it to have, especially in this business, because it is a story. You're telling the before and after. We find it a challenge to like even go back and get like really good quality photos. So we can do like a really great project, and we're like, the pictures didn't come out that great. You're not going to go bother the client again to go back in there. So that is definitely an area that we need to improve on, because pictures tell a lot of words. And then when you add it like a story, video,
and there is a big difference between just some random photo and a high quality, that they've properly staged and taken. I mean, that again, like that's so valuable. And that's what, other potential customers want to see. And it's like, you could have the same exact photo. One of them's, low quality, one of them's high quality. They may make assumptions about you and your work just based on the content and the media. So, I do think it's worth it. And I mean, I've seen people who, again, like they may, in the proposal, in the contract, in the agreement, like they may say, hey, look, if you're willing to also help, do, some marketing with us, like let us come and capture the story and capture photos, we may give you, a 5% discount. Now, again, they might have just, marked it up an extra 5%, but at the end of the day, like they went into the agreement, they set that expectation that like, we want to be able to document this story. We love what you're doing. We think you have a great story, a great home. We're going to just come in here and like, we're going to put that much more, care and TLC into this project because we want it to be a showcase. And as a customer, I'm like, oh, hell yeah, they want to showcase this. This is going to be their best work. Absolutely. I would love to, agree to let you use this for marketing purposes. And like, again, I think it creates a win-win for everybody.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We haven't tried that. We should. Yeah.
I'm curious, what would you say though, like when you think back about the last couple of years, like what do you think have been like the biggest challenges that you all have had, and how did you overcome them?
There's been so many. I guess we just don't give up. You just gotta get back up. We're parents of 2 teenagers. That's not easy.
That's way harder. I got a 6 and a 5-year-old, so I'm still
enjoy it.
Myself.
Great days. Wait till they hit 13.
Oh man,
that's where all my gray hairs came from.
And no hair.
Yeah. So, that's a challenge. Working together can be challenging. Being in a new area, no family, no friends. I mean, we have friends now, but, when we first started, it was just the 2 of us. So it's just be really grateful too. I think there's so many blessings in everything. So we don't let ourselves get into a funk or get pulled down. Like if let's say we went for a job that we didn't get, because I put all that work into the estimate, and it's just like, we didn't get it. And so I let myself grieve for like an hour, and then it's like, all right, well, let's go find another one. So it's just that kind of like, don't let yourself get bogged down with any negativity or the challenges. It's like, there's challenges in everything and every day. Just keep going and be grateful. Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Diego?
The same, just that, the hard days will come, but also the good days will come, right? And when you think you're at your lowest, where there's no work coming in and or you had a bad day at work, it's all going to turn around. So you just have to stick through it. Open your mind to trying things that are different, and just keep growing.
Yeah, it's interesting how, again, when you can see the bigger picture and understand that the life of an entrepreneur. I mean, it's a journey. And it's like a roller coaster, right? Like you got the ups and you got the downs.
Yep.
But it's like when you learn to just appreciate that this is going to be a wild ride, it sort of helps to kind of even it out a little bit. And like, if you didn't have those downs, then the ups wouldn't be as good, and it makes that those wins. I see a lot of people, and I think what I've learned to do is like, you got to celebrate the small wins just as much as the big wins. You got to appreciate every day, every little thing, that goes right when you feel that gratitude. It just helps fuel you when things aren't going right. Like you got those memories and you think about, man, like, all right, well, I got to work through it. Let me break it down. Like we can get through this. I see so many people though, they throw in the towel and they just want to quit. And it's like, that's not, going to serve you well in the long run. Like,
and give up too easily.
Yeah. If this was easy, everybody would do it, but it's not.
Exactly.
Honestly, isn't it exciting? Right?
Yeah.
All these like crazy things every day, every week.
Exactly.
Saturday comes and we're like, it looks like we got to work. Sunday, we're definitely going to relax and hang out with the family and the kids. And then it's just like, you're so tired from the week. And that, I mean, it was exciting, the ups and the downs.
Yeah.
Oh, back to your question on the biggest challenge. Remember that we had like 3-4 months that it was like during the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, the phone did not ring for like 3-4 months.
Talk about stress.
That was like probably the hardest time to just get through. And yeah, you accumulated a little bit of debt, but thank God it was just the two of us at that time. We didn't have Tatum, so it's not like you have to like feed someone else. And we were like tight and just sort of like, we're going to ride through this. But what we did is every day we didn't stop working. We were learning, how to improve our website, market, sell, try new things. We didn't stop. We're like, the phone will ring again. It will get better. And now we know we will never have that 3-4 month time again, because we were always going to be planning that Christmas. Come the holidays, things slow down. We better be booked up.
Yep. That's awesome. How would you, when you think about success, how do you define success? What does a successful project look like for you? What is a successful, month or year, like kind of just at its kind of broadest terms? Like what does success mean to you?
Happy customer, like when they're just like so thrilled and excited at the end of the project. And, sometimes these projects can last a little long. And if they're still hanging on with us and they're still happy and they're still loving Diego, I'm like, thank you, God, because that's ultimately, I think, why we do this. They're just really happy with the final product. And it's a journey. Even their project is a journey. And if they're still like happy and excited with us, then I think that's success to me, because there's going to be challenges, there's going to be delays and all of that stuff. And some people can, or either that, or we just have really great clients. No one ever gives us any problems. They're always great about it. So that to me is success from a project business standpoint. From a more, I love reaching our goals, man. Like when we hit it or surpass it, that to me is really like,
that feels good.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Like that just feels super good.
It's funny how some people though, like they don't take the time to set goals because that stresses them out, and they don't realize that could actually be a motivator. Whether you're working towards that goal or once you hit that goal, you achieve that goal.
Yeah.
Like, it's such an exciting time.
It
is. It makes it that much worth, taking the time to build the budget and figure out our plan for the year.
Yeah. And when you go back and you look at
how far you've gotten,
how much you actually did. And even if you didn't, you're like, okay, that's okay. I'm going to move it to this year. I'm going to do it this year. Because sometimes you can't control time, or you can't control time at all. But you keep seeing all the things that you are doing. You're like, oh, we just had a great year.
Yeah.
Like we did it. That was awesome. Let's do it again. And let's surpass that. And not only that, Eric, our kids are watching us. Our kids are seeing that we're doing it. We're knocking out our goals. And then it gets them motivated. And they're just like, yeah, I'm doing that too. They're at a great age to see this happen. And we do it for them. We really do. All this it's for the family.
How do you involve them? What kind of, how much are they seeing? What?
Oh, everything from the numbers to the hardships to the excitement, everything.
Oh, I'm going to tell you what I just had my son read. So my son is 15, and we're like, Julian, I can't get to posting social media. I'm like, help me out here. What can you do? Because he wants to get into business. So I'm like, a lot of these skills are transferable. I'm like, Julian, I have this book on my nightstand, and I just haven't been able to read it. Can you read it for me and summarize it? Oh, can you see it?
Yeah.
It's crooked. The Remodeler Marketing Blueprint by Spencer Powell. I think we got this at Job Trade. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it's an easy read. And I was like, I just can't get to it. So I had my son read it. And I was like, a lot of these marketing, ideas are transferable in any business.
Yeah.
So we have him doing that. Julian went a couple days with Diego this summer and worked on demo days. So I think it's real important to get them into the family business. I mean, we both grew up in family businesses. I grew up in the restaurant business. And it just humbles you. It teaches you great work ethic, teaches you how to deal with people. So, yeah, we get that. My daughter's not as much as involved. She has no interest. But she's hearing us talk about it. So planting little seeds.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm the son of two entrepreneurs. It makes a huge impact. I mean, it is the reason that I am an entrepreneur. Is my dad was a serial entrepreneur. I mean, I saw how hard he worked. I remember he traveled a lot. He worked really hard, but they started from my parents love to remind me they got married. They had $500 in a Mustang. I've heard the story probably a million times, but they really wanted me to understand that hard work is so important, and you have to be committed and just focused on doing that. You can't just expect handouts and expect things to be easy and given to you. I think that's just one of the things that I've really learned from them, and I can appreciate. I mean, it's not easy, and I'm like, how do I would love to be able to have my kids involved and learning. I wish I could show them spreadsheets. I mean, my son can actually, he can now, do relatively large math and, does multiplication, division. I'm like, awesome. Now let's go talk about, some revenue and some COGS and, some gross profit. And, we're sort of not there yet, but,
how many of us were learning gross profit and all of that? Teacher at 6 years old, he's really far ahead.
I love though how you guys have really embraced this entrepreneurial spirit within the entire family, and that's just so cool. To have this, you're creating this legacy while you're bringing them in and making them feel part of it, so that they will have some experience and some hopefully some confidence when they go to start their first thing or go join company, whatever it may be. But it's just so awesome that you are bringing it home. A lot of times people think about a work-life balance needs to, I go to work, I do my work, I come home, and we don't talk about work. We don't do anything. And it's that is not the reality of an entrepreneur. That is just, I don't know what entrepreneurs can do that. I'm still trying to meet one. But, at least the very, the wildly successful ones don't seem to have as much of that, 50-50, work-life balance. But I love it. This is, you've made it this lifestyle that your children are learning from. And what else could you want out of this, right? That's just so awesome.
And what's funny is that, for our son, well, you'll hear him speak a certain way to his friends when, if he has an idea, a business idea to get started with them, and you're like, wow, that sounds familiar. So
yeah, because he's at that age where he's, not easily employable yet. So he's like, well, what can I do to make some extra money? Because he's saving for a car. I think that's real important too, is to just not buy everything for them. You want to, but
have them value.
Yeah, it's a disservice. Right? So when they want big things, we have them, figure out how to get it.
Absolutely. My parents made me, I got a job at the age of 14, working $4.25 an hour as a junior counselor at the daycare. My parents just were dropping me off at daycare, and I found they had a sign on the wall that was like, hey, minimum wage is $4.25, and I'm like, wait, why am I not getting paid? And I was being called into the principal's office or the headmaster, whatever it is, and finally I was like, well, if I'm going to be sitting in here talking to you anyways, how can I get paid, and sort of talk my way into that?
Right.
Every time on the way home from school, if we wanted to get, some fries from McDonald's, my dad, made me pay for it. And, it really teaches you about investing and valuing every single dollar. You got to make sure, do I really want those fries today? Or do I want to save it for that bigger truck that I was trying to, that toy truck or whatever it may be that I was trying to save for? I love that. And, it's interesting how, again, growing up with entrepreneurial families is just, it's so impactful. And I think at the end of the day too, just the lifestyle, when you can truly embrace it. I mean, you all are I can tell you're passionate about what you do. You love your life. You're enjoying the journey. You can anything that comes your way, you have a framework and a system and a process to be able to handle it. There's nothing that's going to just knock you down where, you're going to start spiraling. And that's so important. I feel like that wasn't always the case. I feel like I'm kind of there too, but you have to realize that you have to be resilient and just not letting little things, in the grander picture, little things, a loss here, a loss there, whatever it may be, you can't let that destroy you.
There's solutions for everything.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
Gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
Mindset
has a lot to do with it.
Absolutely, and I just I hope that what people can take away from this is just, again, kind of seeing, your mindset and how you guys, think about this journey and think about how you want to run the business and how you want to spend your time. Raquel, you're clearly very passionate about, the sales and the marketing and helping customers, bring their dreams to reality. Diego, you love the construction side. You're really very talented at what you do, and your work is high quality, and that brings you a lot of passion. I think it's so important that everyone out there, you have to figure out, what are you passionate about?
Yeah.
You can't do everything. You can't wear every hat. I mean, we all try, and every entrepreneur has done it. But in order to do everything great, you're going to need to find, partners and people that you want to spend your time with, that you can trust, that you value, you respect. And then again, you got to divide and conquer, and you got to find partners. You got to find ways to make sure that everything you do is excellent. And when you do that, your business will take off. The success will come, the customers will come, but you got to do the blocking and tackling. You got to take those efforts and put in the effort. It is hard work, but if you don't think about it as hard work and just enjoy what you're doing, be passionate about it, then it's so much easier and it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to come work with you guys. You guys seem like you have an awesome, fun time.
We try. There's some days that are just why are we doing this? Why does it have to be so hard? But yeah. I mean, this is not for the faint of heart. I always say this. I'm not everybody could do this. And I give, those who came before us and who are, killing it, I give them so much credit, because it's getting up every day, even when you don't want to sometimes, Well,
look, I appreciate you all so much for coming on here, sharing your story, the challenges, how you've overcome them, the things that, you love. Again, it's such an inspiration to me to see happy, successful, a married, household here that you guys have built, while being hardworking entrepreneurs. That is the dream come true, and I'm just so happy, and I'm honored to just have JobTread as a little part of this journey with you. It's so exciting to watch you continue to grow and excel and succeed, and I can't wait to see where you guys are at in 3-5 years down the road. There's nothing but greatness coming for you. You just keep doing what you're doing, because it's awesome. It comes through, and it's inspiring for everyone else out there. So thank you for sharing all of this today.
Well, thanks for having us, and we look forward to the journey with JobTread to get us to that level. So
that was the biggest reason why we brought JobTread. We're if we're gonna grow, then we need to let go of some areas that we spend too much time in. How can we make it more efficient? I love software. We're constantly looking into what are some other things that we could do to make it's an efficient business.
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you for the Job Tread team. They're awesome. And everything that you guys do. It's pretty
Absolutely.
cool.
It is our pleasure. And, again, we just, it's so awesome to see when our customers are succeeding and growing, hitting your goals. That's what this is all about. So, I just very, very happy and thank you again for coming on.
Of course.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Builder Stories. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained valuable insights that can help you in your journey along the way. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave us a review. And as always, if you or someone you know has a story to share, please contact us at builderstories.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Eric Fortenberry, and remember, every builder has a unique story. Keep building yours.